say that development that occurs from birth to 3 years is the foundation. It provides the foundation for the subsequent development across the domain.
Yeah.
So in this discussion, we shall discuss about factors that affects development. We will also tackle about the natures of development. We will also discuss about the developmental support system in the US.
And also
Another one is it was mentioned about, the literature is mentioning about the red flag.
yeah.
Another thing
Part
is
and intervention.
the part C, and intervention, and lastly is the
Family.
involvement of the family. So let's start with the developmental domains. The developmental domains are as follows: physical, which includes the growth, and the sensory is in the health status. Another one is the motor, which has the both gross and the fine, of course. The next one is the cognitive aspect, the cognitive domain, which is the approaches of learning. Another thing is social and emotional, that includes mental health, of course. And lastly, the communication or the language. Okay.
Okay. Did you know that there are two natures of development?
Oh, really?
Yes, we have continuum and integrated.
Yeah, that's true. Continuum means that development is following a sequence, a pattern. For example, a baby will learn to crawl before he or she can learn to walk. Another thing is he will start to bubble first
Before
he
we
can
talk.
talk.
Yes.
On the other hand, integrated means that the development that happens is essential to the next development or the subsequent development that will happen to an individual. For example, if the emotional aspect of a child is well developed, that means the sensory has been also developed.
Okay, so there's a connection.
So does the integrated nature of infant toddler development affects overall, it affects the overall growth and development?
Yes, there's a big implication. Integrated nature of development affects the overall child's development. For example, if the cognitive aspect is well developed, that means the nervous system is more likely well developed as well.
A developmental disability or delay identified in any area will affect other development domains as well. For example, a child who is not able to visualize the environment because of his vision impairment will likely have impacted motor development.
Okay, and this sensory motor deficits may affect the young child's base of experience. For of limited opportunities to explore the environment.
So what are the factors affecting infant toddler development?
Okay, as stated by the National Research Council of 2002, scientists agree, scientists agree that human development is shaped by both nature and nurture.
So it's not nature
nor
nurture.
Yes, actually both nature and nurture. When we say nature, it has something to do with the genes or the basic physical unit of hereditary. It is also a result, we can also say it is a result of inborn or inherent qualities.
Okay, so it is more on biological aspect.
Exactly.
We say nature.
While on the other hand, nurture refers to experience or a support during the period of training and development.
That is, nurture is what the child acquired in the environment.
Yes, in other terms, it is the environmental factors. Okay, this too has the greatest influence actually on early development with long-lasting effects on every developmental domain throughout childhood.
How caregivers can nurture infant toddler development?
Because the nurturing environment is a critical factor in infant and toddler development, it is important for caregivers to be aware of their responsibilities. the act of nurturing infant, toddler development occur in many ways, di ba?
Actually, hindi lang dapat, not only caregivers,
Yeah.
most especially parents.
Parents.
Yeah.
Sabi ko nga, it occurs in many ways. So,
Yes. Not only the
number
caregiver.
one is warm, responsive relationships.
Warm, responsive relationship. What do you mean?
It means that infants, toddlers, and their families are nurtured when relationships are healthy.
Yes.
The bonding.
Yes, Actually, it is the precise example of that. Now, bonding, it is perhaps the most overlooked of infants' needs.
Yet the most important.
Yes, correct.
Yes. For example, a quick response to infant cry is a communication in its basic form.
I think another example is holding, rocking, and looking into the eyes of the child, which promote health and communication development. Right,
It's
guys?
the way of communicating.
Yes, actually, sabi nila, cry is the universal language of infants.
Indeed.
I wanna cry.
Really? You're not an infant anymore.
So we have the second, which is another way is parents and caregiver collaboration and promoting development.
Yes, correct. There should be a positive relationship between the parent and the caregiver. They should have a communication regarding child's development.
Therefore, the caregiver should inform the parents of all his observation regarding the child's development.
Yes, correct.
But in return, the parents should be concerned.
Oh,
Yes.
they should ask the caregivers. Also, development can be nurtured through healthy and safe environment. This is the primary consideration in child care settings because infants and toddlers are vulnerable to experience. They are curious, di ba?
Yes.
So we have to have a healthy and safe environment.
And those experiences affect the overall development of the
Mm,
child.
correct.
Yes, true.
Correct.
Totoo naman.
In addition to that, here is the example of general health
Oh.
and safety practices may include but are not limited to, number one is the medication administration and storage.
Medication administration that must be done by the caregivers or the parents themselves, not by little children, by teenagers, right? And storage is also mentioned. That means the properly labeling. Tapos, it should, sabi nga, di ba, sa mga labels, keep out of the children.
I think one thing more is on how to manage the children with contagious diseases.
Yes. Of course, that is to avoid the spread of contagious diseases.
Okay,
Yes.
and then another one is the injury preventions and managing children's injuries. Practices for emergencies that requires medical care within an hour.
Yes.
Because prevention is better
Than
than
cure.
Actually.
Definitely.
So, we got the same idea about it.
Wavelength, pareho.
Okay, so staff who are knowledgeable in the fundamentals of child development are better prepared to nurture the development of very young children.
Yes.
Professional development system for early care personnel should be accessible, should be addressed the needs of adult learners, and based on clearly articulate framework. They should include continuous training on licensure, qualifications, and credentials.
Correct.
It was mentioned earlier that one of the factor of child development is nurture.
Yes.
I think that is why in the United States of America, there are professional development system supports for infant and toddler caregivers, right? I think the first one is infant toddler credential or the ID.
Yes, I know that. It is actually the combination of requirements considered together and translate to formal recognitions of individuals who work with infants and toddler child care programs. So it is more on the training, courses, and experience.
Yes. So that means in America, in the US,
Yes.
in USA,
This is
they are
formal
giving importance on the
Training.
training
Yes.
requirements of caregivers,
Yes.
child caregivers. I think here in the Philippines,
they
there are
train.
there are caregivers who are being trained. Right?
But-
That is strict. But I think
The main problem is
They-
those trained caregivers are not for the Philippines.
Yeah.
They are for abroad.
Because here in the Philippines,
We also have core knowledge and competence or the CKC.
So what is all about CKC?
It defines the knowledge of caregivers and what she or he will able to do to be knowledgeable and competent in order to become successful in handling infants and toddlers.
Okay, under this is the knowledge of caregivers in health and safety policies and procedures and handling infants and toddlers, such as we have to ensure that young children have a medical and dental checkup.
That means in this support system, the caregivers are
Should
being
know,
taught,
yeah.
of health and safety policies.
Okay.
The first one is again?
The first one is that ensuring that young children had a medical and dental checkup.
Okay.
Another one is evaluating the safety precaution of toys.
Yes.
So yeah, yes, should also know how to evaluate toys.
Yes.
Which toys are for this age or
Yes,
something.
It should be appropriate age and the toy.
Yeah, I think and it is really, really important that we should read the labels. In
Yes,
the
definitely, yes, the
labels.
labels.
Yes, yeah, because as of now, different companies are putting the age, appropriate age, who will use that toys.
Components is also another
like content.
issue. Right, correct.
Yeah, yes.
The lead content.
The lead content as well. Another thing is, I think, disaster preparedness.
Yes.
Yeah, like now, it's bumabagyo.
Labuyo ang big.
Correct. Because in America, in the US, there are hurricanes
Yes.
So another one is administration of medicine.
as well. We have
Proper labeling.
mentioned earlier, right? Proper labeling, administration of medicine should be done by the caregivers. Baka naman kasi simpleng ml lang hindi pa alam.
Yes. Nasobrahan, imbis na 5 ml, naging 25.
Yeah, the prescription.
Prescription.
Yes, correct. And to add, in addition, immunization and well health checkup.
I think one more is the record keeping and reporting.
Safe sleeping practices, right? Because in the US, hindi pinapayagan ng batas na kasama ng bata sa kwarto ang mga magulang.
Oo,
Meron silang
independent at an early age daw.
So, dapat yung caregiver, marunong sila ng sleeping practices. Safe sleeping
Yes,
practices.
an example of that is yung pag yung bata natutulog, dapat the caregiver should raise the side rails.
Yes.
Another thing, yung dapat wala siyang punan na
Correct.
Okay.
And we should also observe proper hygiene and sanitation practices.
They should also know first aid. Of
Yes.
course.
And contact agencies and persons in case of emergency.
Dapat alam nila yung mga agencies na dapat kontakin.
Those are usually short-listed numbers that usually unattended here. 117 unattended.
That's in the Philippines.
Yeah.
In the US, ano yan?
911.
911 laging may sumasagot dyan. As recorded in fairness.
Another one is infant toddler early learning guidelines or the ELG.
Correct.
Oh my God, I know that. It describes the expectation about what children should know or understand and do across different domains of learning, right, guys?
I think this one is focused on the learning.
Yes.
Learning naman.
And the other one is the Infant Toddler Specialist Network or the ITSN. So in ITSN, it is a support system in infants and toddler specialists train the caregivers in providing early care and education to infant and toddler.
Another one is Infant Toddler Child Development Associate Credential or the CDA.
Okay.
It is the national credential documents of competencies in child care provider that is based on criteria.
Okay. So under that, there is a criteria.
There's a basis.
Yes.
Yes.
The next one is, I think, higher education.
Yes.
It is required that the caregivers to have 2 to 4 years degree and advanced degrees in relation to child care.
That is very important.
May PhD.
Kailangan.
Um,
Yung ba yung friend? Kailangan
No, at least
PhD.
meron silang degree. Unlike kasi sa Pilipinas, elementary graduate, usually yung mga
Walang makuha
school,
maayos
yeah.
yung trabaho. Okay na yung yaya. Next one is,
Articulation of early childhood programs.
Oh.
what is?
That is actually the transfer of professional development credentials, courses, we have credits, degrees in students, programs, institutions to another. Ideally, without the use of credits. Okay.
Parang sa lahat ng support system, yun ang hindi kumain.
Yes.
Me too, ma'am. Hindi ko maintindihan yan.
I think Ate Clan has a better idea.
Yes.
Actually,
Actually, yan yung ano ata, yung
Exchange
students.
students.
Exchange students. Kasi, di ba, sa Pilipinas, may iba't ibang paraan ng pag-aalaga ng bata. Tapos hindi mo naman siya pwedeng i-apply sa US pag halimbawang nagpunta ka doon.
So yung training,
So,
ginagawa.
iba yung training dito, iba yung training sa...
At yung credits, hindi nawawala.
Hindi. Nandoon pa din, nadadagdagan na.
Okay.
Okay.
I think financial investment and support is also mentioned.
Yes, the incentive, financial incentive.
Incentives, yeah.
Financial supports include increased compensation through state-based scholarship, early childhood scholarship, and programs.
Parang, kumbaga dito sa Pilipinas, mga additional benefits. SSS, PhilHealth,
Oo.
Okay.
And we also have coaches, consultants, and mentors.
I think it is the professionals who work in child care settings to support the development of knowledge and skills of infants and toddlers, caregivers.
So sila yung mga nagtuturo dun sa mga soon-to-be
Future
caregivers.
caregivers. Another one is quality rating and information system or the QRES.
Yeah,
Diba?
what is that?
QRES. It is the quality and improved standard rating system for child care settings.
Yes. In short, it is referring to grading system for evaluating
Actually, evaluation, yes.
If neonates has immediate newborn assessment, do toddlers and infants also have?
Yeah, but before we discuss that, I think we should note that, as mentioned a while back, that in the first 3 years of life is the foundation. That is why it is so important that infant toddler caregivers must be aware of each child's development progress in a child case setting. Knowledge of a child's development is accomplished through the key processes of observation, developmental screening, and ongoing assessment.
Yes.
So those are the three
key
processes.
Take
Okay,
note
but
of that, guys.
Maisel mentioned that because the first 3 years of life is the foundation,
Yes.
it's important for the caregivers. Of course, not only caregivers, the families, they should know they must be aware of each child's development.
Yes, absolutely.
So you mentioned about those 3 key processes. Now, can you talk about observation?
Observation is an important component of screening and ongoing assessment. Observation is a process of gathering information that documents a child's growth and development. For observation to be meaningful and useful, I think it must be objective and factual.
Okay, so
That
no
means-
addition.
That means
yeah.
what you should put in the record
Yes.
are the things that you only observe.
Visually.
We should bear in mind that we must document only what we
You
see
see.
and what we hear.
Yes, no more, no less.
Yes, I agree with Narvin.
No overemphasize.
Okay, and because it will result to over-interpretation, of
Correct.
course, according to my research here.
Okay, you mentioned a while back that observation should be factual. Can you tell us how can it be attained?
Once observation becomes factual, I think you should describe the action, quote the language, and describe the gesture, facial expression, and creation.
So,
Again,
Yeah.
do not overemphasize.
Because it will result to over-interpretation.
Yeah, correct.
Paulit-ulit.
Yes, according to my research here.
Unlimited.
Okay.
Okay.
Can you tell us the variety of strategies used for documenting children's development?
I think there is non-standardized method that can be implemented.
So that means there's no standard format.
Yeah,
Yes.
because it's just a mere observation, I think. You can have an anecdotal note. It means you can take photographs or pictures, you can record videos, or if the child it can speak, you can record his or her first words, if you can. It's just showing a development of a child, or I mean, it's their milestone.
You said about developmental milestone.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, developmental milestone. As the child ages, they will be able to do complex activities. Like for example, at birth, they will bubble first before they can actually talk. Tapos at 6 months, they can sit with support, or at 12, they can walk alone. Just like in milk commercials, di ba?
That's Nido.
Yes, you need
Nido.
They're informing that a 5-year-old child can tie a shoelace na dapat. So you should observe that.
Ang i-take note natin sa observation is if the child is able to do that milestone.
Kayo ba, may mga picture kayo ng bata kayo?
Ay, meron ako daw. Nahirap sa
Oo.
picture namin.
Siyempre may baby book, may baby
Yeah, actually, that can be a great help, really. Because hindi mo ma-realize na akala mo you're just taking pictures yung pala. It can be a great help para ma-determine na, at a certain point, may nagbago pala sa development niya. It can be.
But we should keep in mind that many children will reach these milestones at different times from the norm. Kasi may mga bata talaga na
Early bloomer.
late bloomer. Can you tell us about the screening and assessment as two key functions of early care and education?
Anyway, developmental screening is assuring that any potential developmental concerns are identified and documented for referral to early intervention system and another system as appropriate. And on the other hand, ongoing assessment is determining how a child is progressing across domains for the purposes of planning individualized curriculum.
So that means screening is just to identify or document the potential development or delay.
That is for referral.
For referral to early intervention. This early intervention we will discuss later, right? Okay. On the other hand, yung the ongoing assessment, more on planning. It is used to plan individual curriculum or child's education.
Is it true that developmental screening identifies or diagnoses the developmental delay rather?
I think that it is only offers a quick view. It only offers a quick look at the major developmental milestones across the means. We keep on mentioning it's just determining, not only not diagnosing.
Yes. So therefore, it will not identify the developmental delay.
There's no diagnosis that being done in screening.
Now, can you discuss about assessment?
Ongoing assessment is designed to determine the absence or presence of developmental delay.
This is where we can determine the absence or the presence of
Okay,
developmental.
now I understand.
And after observation is done and a developmental delay is being determined, this calls for a red flag.
Red flag?
It's new to my ear.
Yes, actually, it's new to our ear. Ang alam ko lang sa red flag is a girl having their period.
Me too. When I'm having my period.
Parang naman.
No kidding, guys. A red flag. Seryoso tayo. Explain ko lang what is red flag.
Red flag.
Red flag.
Madalas
Okay, a red flag it is a signal to increase attention to the aspect of concern in a child's development. And to be even more intentional in documenting observation and providing opportunities for the child to acquire skills.
So this means if a developmental delay is being observed,
Yes. We must
kailangan ng increased
increase
attention.
That
attention.
is red flag.
Yes, we identify it is a red flag. It is an increase of attention na kailangan natin.
Yes,
Yan,
Lisa.
ikaw ay parang sa mga dieta, di ba? Pag may problem yun.
Red flag.
May red flag yung ginaganon.
More attention.
More attention.
It needs more attention, I think.
Okay, but how to identify red flags?
To identify a red flag for the health or mental health, it is for the infant and toddler, caregiver observed for the regular presence of signs or behaviors that interfere with the child's development or learning.
That means red flag is not only on mental health,
Yes.
not only on mental delay. It also pertains to physical delay.
You also mentioned, di ba, observe for regular presence of signs for behavior. So, constant dapat siya.
constant.
Constant yung...
Before you can identify a red flag.
Yes.
Baka naman kasi minsan lang nangyari.
Oo.
Agad-agad lang po na.
Red flag.
Okay.
concern?
A red flag is not easy to determine. If a child's development with normal limits of its potential delay. So, ibig sabihin, hindi siya agad-agad
Hindi siya delay.
nag-delay.
Maraming factor. Isa
Kasi
lang yung dapat
delay
constant.
lang.
Normally, delay lang.
Delay, hindi buntis.
Correct.
Oo, correct. Hindi
Yes,
positive.
correct.
Delay lang. Okay.
Delay lang. So, but we should keep in mind that we need to be careful in calling for a red flag because
Because I think development may happen earlier or later in an individual
As I mentioned earlier.
May late bloomer and may early bloomer.
And no two persons are alike.
Alright.
Yes,
Hindi
definitely.
pwedeng nangyari kay John, nangyari kay Norby.
Ma'am, hindi rin naman ako papayag.
Hindi naman pwede meron sa akin tapos meron siya din.
Wala yun.
Okay.
How we communicate with parents about developmental concerns?
So, important ito.
Yes.
in communication with families about the developmental concern may be less emotionally stressful if the family are knowledgeable of the child's screening take place.
Okay, therefore, the families are informed about
Yes,
the process.
yes, correct.
For example, if the family is aware about what is screening, what is
Observation,
observation, hindi magiging emotionally stressful. Kasi kahit naman tayo yung lumagar sa lugar ng pamilyang may anak na may developmental delay, medyo
Mas
Lalo
na Pilipino, hindi sila open-minded in regard to
Yes.
this one.
Pagkakaroon nga pa nga lang ng sakit may sakit yung bata, iba na yung notions na.
Yes, correct.
Di ba?
Kaya kailangan din natin ipaalam sa kanila ng dahan-dahan.
Yes.
Hindi yung, ay, abnormal po yung anak niyo.
Biglaan.
Be careful with the terms na
Yes,
pag-
correct.
May developmental delay po sila. Ano yun?
Okay, pa yung mga proper
Proper words.
Oo.
Yung maiintindihan nila at hindi masakit.
Kasi minsan hindi professional yung kausap mo. Alam mo,
Mamaya bigla.
Mongoloid dyan, mongoloid.
Hindi alam ko ano yung mongoloid.
Basta alam lang pala may Down syndrome.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, let's move on. So, as a system designed to assess the child's development across the domain, we have the early interventions that serve as an effective referral point when delay is developed is suspected.
As we know, there is development support system, right?
Yeah.
Is there also delayed development support system?
Yes, there is. The party or the early intervention system is actually part of the idea or the Individuals with Disability Education Act, right, Chan?
yes, that is actually a part of federal law which supports early intervention system for infants and toddlers with developmental delays. Okay. May I just add na after ng red flag, doon na papasok yung referral for Part C or the early intervention. Yes.
Sa US, meron silang Disability Education Act. Diba? That means it is focused on the infants and toddlers with disability, with developmental delays.
Yes.
Diba? Sa Philippines, parang hindi ko pa narinig masyado yung ganyan law. Ang meron dito is yung batas na pina-priority yung mga disabled na meron silang 20%.
Even the senior citizen.
Diba? Tapos meron din, yung parang pag nag-apply sila sa trabaho, priority sila.
And also yung lane.
Oo, yung lane, yung
priority
Oo.
lane.
Kaya lahat ng mga establishment dapat may ramp for ano tawag doon? Wheelchair.
Pero ang pinagkaiba lang sa US, ang maganda dito, infant and toddler pa lang, sinisimulan na nila yung
May support.
support.
So what is the first thing to consider in party or early intervention?
Okay. In early intervention system, the first thing to consider is we have the eligibility, meaning which infant is qualified and which one is not. Okay. One is through genetics, and second we have medical diagnosis and evaluation.
So hindi lang basta kunyari nakita nung nanay na ay dapat ano.
So dapat may
Evaluation, diagnosis, and we have genetics through genetics.
If a delay is suspected, but an established condition has not been identified.
What is the next step?
Okay, in that case, we have multidisciplinary evaluation. So, sila yung nag-confirm ng eligibility, okay? Meaning, these are the guidelines for eligibility.
Ah, okay.
Therefore, we should know the key aspects about Part C or the early intervention.
Yes, actually. Okay. The first thing to consider we have the primary provision of the parts or the early intervention system is that the early intervention system or the services are to be delivered in the natural environment.
Child's natural environment, what do you mean?
Okay, when we say natural environment, it is the community setting in which the children without disabilities participate. So in other words, it pertains to the usual environment of the infant or
That
the
means
toddler.
the therapy is done not inside the clinic,
Yes.
but together with children without
Without. Yes.
disability. Parang set up yan sa SPED, di ba? Sa SPED. Nasa SPED sila, pero naka-enroll sila sa SPED, pero there are time na dinadala sila sa normal.
Why there is a need for natural environment?
Okay, as mentioned in the second aspect of the early intervention, the promotion of the natural environment is related to the goal of the program. The implication is that the early intervention should be embedded in the child's daily routine. Okay. That is to so that the infant will not feel that he is undergoing a certain therapy.
So, the therapy is within the daily routine.
Yes.
So as such, the therapy session will not be difficult for both the infant and the specialist.
And the last key aspect is that the Part C early intervention is required to facilitate a child's transition from Part C to Part B. When we say Part B, that is pertaining to early childhood special education, which will continue the child's developmental process.
Yun na yung SPED.
Okay, so under that Part B, malaki na yung part ng family, okay, crucial role of the family.
Oo. Importante yung involvement ng
Family.
So what do you think is the reason why families are important in the development, screening, and ongoing assessment of their child?
Learning begins at home, right, guys?
Yes.
I think so. Therefore, family plays a pivotal role in the development of a child.
Yes.
It is indeed essential that every effort be made to ensure that ongoing and effective communication and partnerships be established and maintained between caregivers, infants, and toddlers in their families.
Yes.
Hindi lang laging nakatutok yung yaya lang, yung caregiver.
Oo. Kailangan should involve the parents.
The young parents.
Yes.
So, besides, families provide a perspective on their child that is not readily accessible to the provider. When the families are equal partners in the observation, screening, and assessment process, it is ensured that there are strengths and needs are identified and appropriate support are in place to an individualized learning opportunity.
Yes.
So, na-identify hindi lang yung strength, but also yung needs, no?
Yes. Moreover, a key aspect of supporting and promoting child development is an effective and positive relationship between the family and the caregiver. Di ba nga yung warm and responsive relationship? Engaged in a communication gives early care and education programs an opportunity to actively and appropriately promote the development of infant and toddlers.
This is true to infant and toddlers with or without developmental delay.
Oo, tama.
Pero siguro may mas kailangan yun ng with
Emphasize
developmental.
yung emphasize.
More attention.
Diyan pumapasok yun, di ba, yung kapag may mga problem sa school, yung family days. For example, di ba, nagkakaroon tayo ng ganyan.
So when parents are involved in screening and assessment, they become equal partners in the process.
Yes.
So if a concern emerges about the child's development, this partnership paves the way for discussion and decision about the possible need for other parents.
Yes. Yun nga yung kanina.
Yung pag nag-usap, mag-discuss yung caregiver plus yung parents, tapos mag-set sila, parang kakaroon sila ng consensus kung mag-refer pa sila or what.
Okay. Can you give some tips on how to strengthen the involvement of the families regarding with the development of their child in terms of the screening and assessment process?
First in the line is good communication.
Okay.
Actually, hindi lang yan dito sa issue na to. Sa lahat naman.
Oh.
Lahat naman.
In relationship, yes.
Boyfriend, girlfriend.
Yes.
Boyfriend, boyfriend.
Long distance relationship.
Boyfriend.
Girlfriend, girlfriend.
Yes.
Meron pa dito nung teka lang.
Hindi kasi pag dyan nagsisimula
Yes,
yung
Maisel.
miscommunication, parang ang hirap i-resolve yung ganyang
Yes.
conflict. Lalo na sa mga non-verbal. Kasi di ba iba-iba tayo ng interpretation. So,
Yes.
dyan din nag-i-start eh. Kaya dapat, I think we should have a
Good communication.
Okay. And we should also have offer home visits when appropriate.
Hindi lang yan dito. Sa
Oo.
teachers, diba?
As teacher.
Kasi,
Yes.
doon mo malalaman kung ano yung totoong sitwasyon sa bahay.
Ano iba yung sitwasyon sa bahay?
Bakit ganun siya?
Ganun siya.
Yes, sabi nga nila, we are not confined within the four corners of our room.
Oo,
Yes.
tama.
And also, notify family support shop, trainings, and family child care.
Yung kanina, yung sinabi mo yung may,
Family
family
day.
day.
Yes.
Oo, diba?
Yung training, that is also to educate the family.
Regarding dun sa status or dun sa
Development ng bata. Another one is invite families to spend time in a child care setting. So, involved talaga yung family.
Yes. One thing more is to provide resource materials and ideas for activities that families can do at home and in the community with their children, right?
Uh-huh.
Hindi man magkaroon ng mga activities sa school, yung mga specialist, turuan nila yung parents ng mga bagay na pwede nilang gawin.
Picnic, family picnic.
Family bonding.
Yes.
At saka I think maganda yung family day, at least once meal a day, yung magsama-sama yung
Oo.
family.
One meal a day, parang hindi masyado yun, during the
Once a week.
weekdays, diba? Parang hindi masyado.
Sunday.
Lalo na pag nag-work.
Pag Sunday,
Oo.
di ba?
Sunday,
Yeah.
oo.
But as much as possible, make
Oo.
way.
Oo.
Make way.
Yung paggawa ng projects ng mga bata.
Oo, yun.
Ay,
Valid na rin kasi yun.
Ay, may share ako. I think maganda yung sa religion namin. Kasi once a week, we have that weekly prayer. I mean, we are gathered once a week in the house and then may tatalakayin lang na discuss ng mga lessons and then we will pray. Maybe that's one way of bonding. I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
The family then prays together, stays together. Let's cheers to that.
Correct. Let's move on.
Okay. And also recognize that family involvement is an ongoing
Oo.
process.
Hindi lang siya
Hindi
yung
lang
sa
siya
family
sa,
day.
at saka hindi lang siya sa pagkabata.
Yes.
Hanggang pagtanda na. Hanggang
Oo.
sa Pilipinas nga, hanggang may pamilya na
Nangyayari.
diba?
Yung iba sinasabi, malaki na siya, kaya niya na yan. Mali yun, di ba?
Oo.
Yes.
Siguro yun yung part na hindi ako masyadong agree
Oo.
sa US. Yung
18.
18.
Separation.
Oo. Nainis nga ako kasi minsan, di ba, binubuli daw kasi doon yung mga 18 na yung hindi pa nasiseparate sa Philippines. So, binubuli daw talaga eh.
Oo, totoo yun. Kaya lang kasi culture nila yun, pero medyo...
Pero naalala din naman nila yun. Yung family,
Oh, and the last one,
Yes.
be sensitive to the diversity in home cultures and how communication may need to be enhanced.
Iba-iba kasi pagpapalaki ng pamilya.
Yes,
correct.
Kahit pare-pare kayo Filipino, may different pa rin tayo approach or ano.
Oh my God, guys, may naalala ko. Nung nag-intern ako sa PREDA,
Yeah.
sumama akong dumalaw dun sa isang convicted na child. Convicted ba yung tamang word? Yung nag-undergo ng case. Then, yung family niya, sabi ba naman nung nanay niya dun sa anak niya, ba't nandito ka? Umalis ka na lang dito, di ka na namin kailangan. Diba? Parang kung ikaw, ako kaya yung nasaktan, hindi yung bata. Tignan mo na, sir, sabi nung sa akin, tignan mo na, hindi ako mahal ng mga magulang ko.
Grabe. Pinagbutan ako sa sinabi mo.
Yes, the term is forensic yung case.
Forensic kasi
Naka-ano siya.
meron siyang issue sa isip. Nagawa niya.
Nagawa yung crime.
Crime. Or
Unintentionally dahil
meron siyang or pagka naman, mas bata, juvenile.
juvenile case.
So you've mentioned a while ago that communication is indeed an effective way of involving parents on their activities, right?
Yes.
So can you give me or us some
Documented quiz from Girls to Faith. Pinasalisin ka namin.
Okay? Okay na din.
Then we will wait for you until you are ready. Okay na?
Sana hindi ako nadidistract sa paglalaro mo.
Okay, 3, 2, 1, action.
More knowledge and comparison. Or the cheeky thing. Okay, ready?
Go.
Okay.
In 3, 2, 1, action.
7.
Oh my God.
Magte-10.
Kung alam ko lang na pa ako ng ano.
Mga parang dito lang tayo sa natuoo, no?
Pwede,
Okay.
alam mo,
Oh, nagdadalang tayo na po.
Enough is enough.
Okay, 5, 4, 3.
Ultimate quiz from birth to fate. Alisin ka namin.
Okay? Okay na din.
then we will wait for you until you are ready. Okay na?
Sana hindi ako nadidistract sa paglalaro mo.
Okay, 3, 2, 1, action.
More knowledge and comparison. Or the cheeky thing. Okay, ready?
Go.
Okay.
In 3, 2, 1, action.
7.
Oh
Kasi
my God.
magte-10.
Kung alam ko lang na pa ako ng ano.
Mga parang dito lang tayo sa natuoo, no?
Pwede, alam mo,
Oh, nagdadalang tayo na po.
enough is enough.
Okay, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.